In this section of the video, I will talk about the code for Lab 5 Experiment 1. So before I talk about the actual code for the experiment, I want to talk about the setup for the experiment. So in the beginning here in our main function, we have all these EZ LCD connection data ports, and we have our our EN pins, our RS pins, and our RW pins. So in the previous lab, we learned the importance of these, and pretty much from line 17 through 19, we also have our initialized variables that basically help us out with all this, with all the things in our while loop. So pretty much our while loop reads that when ch, right, is equal to our read keypad, which is our function down here. So if that ch, or our character, is this asterisk, then it's going to multiply I by 100. If the character is the pound sign, then it's going to reset to 0 and clear the LCD display. And for this here, if the character is between 0 and is greater than 0 and less than or equal to 9, pretty much what's going to happen is it's going to display that value. So this section of the code, this end section here that I'm highlighting. So in order to analyze this, we're going to take this piece by piece. So first, let's look at this piece here. So that piece is basically taking the ASICs, then it's basically getting the decimal value for these values here, for the A, for the 1, for the 2. It's changing this into decimal value, and then it's adding it to this section here. So this part now, what that part is essentially every time we press a button on the keypad, it's going to shift, or it's going to basically continue on from like 1 over the spot where it's originally at, right? So in order to keep on shifting it to the right, we have to multiply by 10. So that's what that means. So again, this is the A62 code part where it's converting it to decimal, and then this is shifting it over by 1. And then pretty much this is this part here is displaying it onto the LCD in 1's position. And also, since there is a small time delay between each press of the keypad and stuff, we need to put a wait mils 100 millisecond. Yeah. Okay. So now I quickly want to talk about my setup GPIO. So for the setup GPIO, there is pretty much so this part here. First, we have to enable. We have to basically enable the clock to all the GPIO modules, right? So that's for all the ports that we have, or all the ports that existed. And pretty much all we do is the same thing here, right? We just place this, every single port that we have, into these 2 areas here. And then we have to unlock GPIO D7, right? We have to unlock D7, unload it. That's what this part is. And then, okay, so as you can see here, there's I have a lot of output pins, right? So I want to take it step by step. So these are the output pins for the LCD display. So these were in the previous lab as well. I showed these, why these belong here. It's also on Professor Erslin's website. And then these are now the output pins for the keypad. So these are basically, if we look at Professor Erslin's website, for the big board, for for the big board. Essentially, these are the output pins. Then okay, so the other thing is, so since we're using open drain, the rows are going to have open drain and the columns are going to have pull-up resistors. So the ports and pins for the for the rows are these here. So that's why they all have open drain. And then the columns are are this are these ports and these pins here. So that's why it has the pull-up resistor. So yeah, and then we have to enable all of them down here, all the pins and ports, so we could all use them. And yeah, so now let's get on to our actual code. So starting from the top here, we see that we have a character keypad, a 2D array, right, where we have where it basically resembles our keypad. It's basically the same way, right? We just structured it in this way so it could look very similar to the keypad. And so now if we look through these lines here, pretty much what we're doing here is we're GPIO addressing the bit mask. So here though, all that's happening is I'm addressing the bit mask for the rows and the columns. So yeah, that's pretty much all that's happening here. And if we continue on, right, here I initialized some of my variables that I'm going to need throughout my code. And then here, right, so here what we're doing is we're basically scanning the rows. So in order to do that, I use the for loop, right? So if we look, our keypad only has 4 rows, right? So that means it's only going to go from row 0, 1, 2, and 3, right? That's 4 rows. So that's why I set up my for loop in this manner. And then pretty much what I'm doing is I'm driving R1 to low and the other rows to logic 1. And that's what I'm pretty much doing. And then for every time I'm shifting the low onto the second to the second one, and then onto the third one here, and then onto the fourth one, and I'm making the rest logic 1. And again, there's a small delay in between reading the actual inputs and outputs of the keypad, so there has to be a small timer delay. And now that we have already read or scanned the rows, now we're going to read the columns, right? And that's what pretty much this set of code does. So it reads column 1, it reads column 2, it reads column 3, and it reads column 4. Yeah, and then this section of the code is, so this last part here, this if key is not equal to 0x00, so that basically means that if the user already pressed the key, then to not scan anymore, right? Because it's already being pressed, so there's no reason to be continuously scanning. So it's going to break out of there. Okay. Now, now the issue before, right, was that when the user would press down the key, it would continuously display that same key that the user presses until overflow happens, right? And we don't want that. We don't want it so that when you press down on it, for it to be repeating over and over. So pretty much, what the experiment wanted us to do was create this set of code here, so that when the user presses and holds down on the key, it's not going to continue going 1 1 1 1 1. It just, as soon as you press it, it only displays that one until the user releases that key or presses down on it again, or presses down on another number. So pretty much what this is saying here is if the current key that is pressed is not the same as the previous key, right? Then you could display it on the LCD. And if the key that is pressed is the same, right? So if we're continuously holding down on it, then return 0 so that it can't be outputted when it's held or pressed. And yeah, that's pretty much it. So now let's take a look the um, at the results for the experiments, and let's see what actually happens. Yep. In this section of the video, I will talk about the results for the experiment. So here we have our keypad, we have our microcontroller, our TV board, and then we have our LCD character LCD module here. So pretty much what's supposed to happen, right, is when I press any one of these blue keys that we see here, it's supposed to display on the LCD here. And then whenever I press on the pound sign, it's going to reset to 0. And whenever I press on the asterisk key here, it will essentially multiply that number on this LCD by 100. So let's take a look, right? So if I click 1, if I click 1, 1 shows up. If I click 2, 2 shows up. If I click 3, 3 shows up. Click 4, 4 shows up. 5, 5 shows up. Now I press the pound sign to reset. It resets to 0. We could take a look. 7, 6, 7, 8, 9. Reset to 0. It's fine. Yeah, and it could be in any order, 2, 2, 5, 8. It's not just reading like an order. It could read it in basically any order, right? So I don't know, 6, 7, like that. And then I guess the other thing that was supposed to happen, right, was that when I would press down on this, it's only supposed to display. Okay, so for example, if I were to press down on, let's say 1, it's only supposed to display 1 once. Okay, because we don't want it to be constantly showing. When I hold down on it, it's not supposed to be showing 1, 1, 1, 1, 1. It's only supposed to be showing 1 once until I release it and press another key or press the same key. So if I click on 1 and hold it, it's only displaying 1 once. Same thing with, I don't know, let's try now 6, right? I hold 6, I hold on it, it only shows it once, right? Press down on it, I hold it, it's only showing once. Press down on it, hold it, it's only showing once. So yeah, that's pretty much it. So essentially, what was supposed to happen was whatever key I pressed on the keypad, it's supposed to display onto here. The asterisk key here on this side is essentially supposed to multiply that number by 100. So let's take a look at that now. So let's say 15, press the asterisk key, times 100, it works. And this pound sign is supposed to reset it to 0. So essentially, that's what's supposed to happen whenever I press any of these on the keypad. It's supposed to do something on the LCD display, and then when I hold down on any of these numbers here, it's only supposed to display once and not multiple times. So yeah, that's pretty much it.